Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 119, and it is a Friday, and that is like super weird. Well, for some people, some of our guests, one of our guests, our only guest, it is actually Saturday. Hey, Chris, how's everything down under?
It's pretty good down here. Beautiful weather and a day ahead in the future. It's nice. Yeah, the world continues in another day.
Yeah, I'd already be on vacation if I was down there, so in more ways than one. So yeah, so the reason why we're doing this on Friday, of course, Wednesday was Valentine's Day, and Thursday I did the smart thing and decided to celebrate Valentine's Day on Thursday, so you don't have to worry about the crowds and everything. And I actually went and saw Hamilton, which is an awesome show. I would recommend, if that comes to anyone's town, check it out. So we're pushing this over to Friday, and we're going to have some fun before I head out in the morning over to LA where Josh is, and hopefully I get to meet up with Josh on my little vacation, and that should be cool. But for now, we're going to talk about. So I think we've talked about these subjects before, but we don't get a chance to talk to Chris that much. Because he's got the time differences and his day job and everything. So, but I think he'll definitely bring something different to this. And I mean, anytime we have a different guest, the conversation always goes a different way. So, but I know we've talked a little bit before about creating your art style, or deciding on your art style, or how to develop your art style. And we've also talked a little bit about branding, which is probably one of my favorite subjects. So it probably won't be the last time we talk about that. But I figured we can kind of meld the two and kind of figure out how those two things work together. So I'm gonna start off with Chris, because he kind of recommended talking a little bit about branding and everything, because I guess it's something that's kind of on his mind lately. So what are your thoughts, Chris?
Well, this has sort of been an ongoing thought for like the past year, where I've really been thinking heavily about it. Funnily enough, since I started my new job, working as a graphic designer, definitely introduced me to more of a new world and a more corporate world of how that industry works and how the creative field works in that regard. And it got me really thinking more about how I was actually approaching myself as a freelancer before I got the job, where I was really trying to do everything myself and was trying to illustrate everything. And I hated Adobe Illustrator before then and now. And I know you use it a lot, Scott, and watching you use it killed me. I was like, how is he doing this? And
it is the most non-intuitive program for artists ever. But once you get the hang of it, I mean, I love it now. But yeah, I know the feeling. Everyone, pretty much even the people that use Illustrator all the time, they said, oh, I hated that when I first started. And then after a while, it's like, oh man, I can't live without this. I love it.
Yeah. I've been using it for a year straight now for my work, and I'm addicted to it. Like, I can't think of doing anything else for doing layouts, for prepping promos and everything like that. Like, I was doing everything in Photoshop and Manga Studio, and like, I just think like, wow, I wasted so much time trying to do it in there. Like, I wish I'd spent more time in Illustrator. And it got me to sort of understand another side of that world, and sort of how powerful that software was and what its capabilities were. And also, we use, I don't know if you guys have heard of Shutterstock, which is essentially just like a stock image website.
I use that all the time too,
yeah, so we use that on the daily, and that's sort of what triggered some of this thought process. Was like, well, there was so many illustrations on that website. I'm like, why wasn't I doing that? Why wasn't I just selling illustrations? Which was funny, because then you started doing it last year, Scott, with design cuts, I think it is.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to go too much into that, but yeah, I definitely wanted to bring that up, because if you do want to go that way, Chris, I would say Creative Market might be a better avenue. I don't know about. I mean, it's a little different, because the products on Creative Market, you have to go and kind of look at them and kind of see. They're a little more involved than just a single illustration, which you can put that on. Like, you can put that on on Creative Market, like a single illustration, but usually they're more of packs, I guess, where there's different things that you can use to build things. But to me, I like Creative Market a lot better. I don't know what the cut, because usually Shutterstock is sort of a subscription thing, so I can't imagine you get much from a sale on that. So I would look into Creative Market, but it's a little more upfront work, and I still haven't really kind of broken in on Creative Market. But I was discovered, by Design Cuts, and I'm in the current bundle right now. So, and that's cool. So we'll see when Tuesday was when that ends. It's a little hard to get into. I don't know. I mean, some people are just like trying to knock down their doors to get into the bundles, and somehow, I don't know how, but they saw what I was doing and they liked it, and they wanted to partner with me on that. So they're like an awesome company where everyone I've talked to, they're just super incredible. So
that tutorial on how to make a zombie poster, was that from your pack?
Yeah. They do a lot of that. So they asked if they could use part of mine to do a freebie. They said it'll help boost the sales and everything. I said, yeah, sure. So they took.
I got that email. I was looking at that. Like, this is cool, and this looks really familiar. Like, I wonder if Scott knows about this. And
So yeah, they did that, and they sent that out. I have to kind of look and see what they did with it and everything. But they do a lot of work. They do a whole presentation, a video and everything to present the bundles and all that stuff. So I have to see how it goes. I listened to also they've got a podcast called The Honest Designers, where anyone that's listening to this show, you probably like that show too, because it's kind of the same thing. It's a little more structured, a little more professional probably, but it's like four really top-notch illustrators, and they just basically honestly just break down sort of the business of art and design and everything. It's a little more, we're a little more comic and illustration centric. They do have one illustrator on the show, but they're a little more design centric. But that's a great show. But I listened on that, and they said how the owner of Design Cuts is the kind of the main host. But he was saying how they had a problem with PayPal on the launch, so I don't know how that affects the sale of this particular bundle. But anyway, I'm making inroads with them, and they tend to like what I'm doing, and really cool. They even reached out. I mean, the founder of Design Cuts even reached out to me and offered me like a free consultation on what I can do to help build the business and everything. So they're super cool over there. If there's any way you can get involved, like I said, I don't know how hard it is if you're trying to knock down their door. I just kind of got lucky or something, or they like what I was doing.
Yeah, that's a great network to have by the sounds of it. Yeah, that's awesome.
So, but anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean to interrupt, but I just figured I'd talk about that. But yeah, so I haven't really played around with Shutterstock as far as selling stuff on there. To me, I don't know that that's really the way to go, but I mean, it might be worth trying out.
I think what really enticed me more about using it was like you'd have around Easter or Valentine's Day, we were obviously downloading assets for those things, and they were just single illustrations, like really simple ones, or the same characters in different poses, and you can always tell that they'd done sort of similar to like your zombie pack. They'd taken a bunch of assets, put them together, and just uploaded a singular image. And I was like, I could do this with my eyes closed. And I started toying around with the idea, and it didn't go very far at the time. It's still one of those things that I want to do. But yeah, it started to lead me into understanding more about that side of things, and how like the passive income idea, it's always been one of those things on my mind where like I need to start making money if I want to get out of this job and actually working for myself again. And then that led on to, well, I need to start branding myself. I need to start making myself stop looking like just a regular guy and actually look like a guy who's running a business. And then it got, I was starting thinking like, well, what's the best way I can do that while I have a full-time job? Because like anyone, like, look at Josh, and I look at you, Scott, like you guys have full-time jobs, and you still do the Artcasters, you still do your comics, and you still do things with your family. You can still manage to juggle all that, and that's the sort of life I want, leading to the point where I can make enough and say to my boss, see you later. Thanks for all the fish. And
Is that an Australian slang? Because you guys have so many different slang terms and idioms over there that I'm like.
I think that's Douglas Adams right there. Douglas Adams quote. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
And yeah, it got me thinking. I'm like, well, okay. Well, one thing I always enjoyed doing before I went full time was I was doing the stickers, and I was starting to do wanting to do lapel pins, and I was making the sketchbooks. I don't know if you guys remember, I was making my own sketchbooks, which were slowly starting to take off. Obviously, those things took time. And then on the other side of that, there was the packaging and posting everything out. And I work Monday to Friday, 8 till 5:30. So I start before the post office opens, and I finish by the time they're closed. And so that leaves me no time to do any of that side of things, any of the communications and all of that side. So I spoke to my wife, and I said, like, look, I want to get back into this, and I want to do this. Do you think you'd be able to take over the reins? I'm like, because she's a stay-at-home mother at the moment. So she's raising our daughter, and she's doing an awesome job of that. I'm like, well, if we can work together and actually get you to do the other side of things, like, you can run my Etsy page, and you can talk to all the customers. You can liaise with me, and I'll get the products ready. I'll make the books, or I'll do the artwork, etc. And then you just take care of the other side of it. You can go down to the post office during the day, once, you need to go to do the shopping or whatever. And she was on board with that. And that sort of got my mind rolling. Then, like, okay, so now I'm looking at building a brand, selling products. What else do I need from that? What do I need to start to make myself look like and convince people, followers, or people who've just come across on my videos or my Instagram posts, to go, oh, wow, this guy's legit, or, oh, wow, I love these designs, and now I want to purchase them. And how do I show them that what I'm doing is actually available for purchase? Because I can post 100 things on Instagram, but that's not going to tell people that they can go online and buy them. So now I'm looking at, okay, well, now I need to start looking at logo designs and actually branding what I'm doing. So I'm looking at creating a range of pins and prints called Adorables, which is a mixture of adorable and horrible. And they're just like, for a quick idea, with like a gruesome skull with a nice pretty pink bow on top of it. So now I'm going, okay, well, I'm going to create the artwork, but if I brand that under a name, people will go, oh, I love the Adorables range. When are you going to do more of that? And they'll go, okay, well, this brand's doing well. And then I can have another range called Cutesies, where it's just fan art that looks like cute little babies or chibis sort of things. Mm-hmm. And I can start gauging which brand of what I'm doing is selling better or isn't doing so well, so I can focus on one over the other. I can have logos to represent these brands. So when people go to the website, they go into my online store, or they Google Adorables, it's going to be easy for them to find. They're going to be able to recognize the product by the logo because it's branded. And then they're going to go, okay, now I found the brand that I want. I can go over to that product and pick, this pin that I really like. Or I'd like to start doing limited edition runs. So like Kevin did with the Monkey Mod Pids, he did just a small run of them. Okay, well, there's only 50 of these. So the first 50 and they're gone after that. Actually, a really good example of that was Justin Scard. He does his lapel pins, and he only orders like 100 or 200 of them, puts them on eBay, and they sell because he has that brand. He has that brand of what is it? It's not Live Fast Die Poor. It's the Randomland.
Randomland, right?
Randomland. So you've got that Randomland branding. Now he's just a vlogger, but he's branded himself so well that you can see those products anywhere and know who it is. Adam the Woo, I've seen it tons of times on my YouTube because I wear a lot of Adam the Woo t-shirts. The amount of people that go just straight comments of Woo, Adam the Woo, and that's it. Because they recognize that brand and they feel compelled to comment on it. That's the level I want to get to.
Yeah, I just want to touch on the limited edition. I've always wanted to try to do like a limited edition print, and I'm just hesitant to do it because I'm worried that I might not be at that level, because I'd hate to put all the work into a print that's only going to be limited edition and not sale, and then I'm like, well, now I can't do anything with it, you know?
Yep.
So, I mean, I think I need to build a following a little more before I do that. But from people who are at a little higher level, that's like super. I mean, they're super successful with it, because I mean, that's something that can really get people to buy, you know, now, because if it's not going to be around, you know.
Yeah, well, you get like Jake Parker, who did the
Sorry, that's my wife's. My wife has Magnum PI theme on her phone. Hang on.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so that's something that I really want to try out. But I
understand your fear though, because I remember watching Mike when he did his Space Cat prints.
Yeah,
and like Mike does have a following, but I remember like, I was unsure. I'm like, does he have enough of a following to do a limited edition run of Space Cat prints? You know, that's really interesting. And, you know, from what I've seen, like, it actually did quite well. He, you know, within getting that store up, there was enough demand by his fans that wanted them. And seeing that, you know, sort of gave me a bit of confidence. I'm like, you know what, if I get back into action, I mean, I pretty much disappeared from the scene last year for the most part because of, you know, life.
Right.
And now, and to be fair, I probably owe it mostly to doing the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge, that it's reinvigorated me to be more prominent in my artwork and more prominent in social media and be more interactive. You know, to get to that point, you know, to be the next Mike Emirates and sell limited edition Space Cat prints.
Yeah, he did really. I was surprised, because he doesn't have a huge following, but he did really well. I think it's just because everything that he's been doing is centered around Space Cat. So
yeah, he's branded as Space Cat. Right. He is.
Yep.
So yeah, and up until this point, I've got comics out, but there's nothing centralized on me that you know, really stands out. So, you know, if people mention my name, they might know me for doing Never Tomorrow or How to Make a Friend. But I want to be known for either, whether it be Adorables or most preferably Monkey Junk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Monkey Junk became my brand, and I could go, oh, there's an exclusive Monkey Junk print, you know, that I've just put together. I'm only doing 10 of them, and they sold out, you know, in the first day. Like, that would be amazing, you know, getting to that. Was it the 1,000 true fans ideology? You know, like that sort of dream. Like, that's my goal, and I've been trying to think, what's the way I can do this? What's the best way I can get to that point?
So here, I got a question from Comics Legend. What would you consider a large following? 5,000 followers? I would think higher than that. I'm getting close. I'm closing in on 5,000, and I still wouldn't. I mean, it's all relative, and I don't want to like freak people out because it takes so long to build a following. But I mean, you can. I mean, even with the smaller. I mean, Mike Emirates is a perfect example with his print. I mean, he doesn't have. I don't know what his YouTube following or whatever is, but I know he's. You know, he's on Facebook, and you know, so but he doesn't have a huge following. And he's in the chat too, so maybe he can chime in on that.
He is,
because he was able to, you know, put out Space Cat and sell the print, whereas, you know, I mean, I've got a little bigger following than Mike, and if I was to put out, I don't know, maybe if I hyped it up, maybe I've never really tried to do that on a specific print, but I've got tons of stuff, you know, on my site, and when I launch a new print, it usually doesn't like sell out like that. So it could be the scarcity thing, it could be a number of things, but with whatever your size, and it also depends. It's like that, like what you mentioned, the 1,000 true fans. So maybe you don't need 1,000, but if you have true fans that love what you're doing and appreciate what you're doing, that are, that are willing to support you, it could be better than if you have a bigger following without as many like true fans.
That's correct.
You know, it's hard to figure out which ones are true and or whatever. But to me, I guess it's just the odds. The bigger your following, the bigger chances of maybe some of those being true fans.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, I see Mike's advantage is his consistency with Space Cat. That's pretty much all he talks about. You know, he's been working on Space Cat for so long with his 100 days and everything. He's already built the following based on that story. So for him to, and thinking the fact that he's done this limited edition print, but the Space Cat comic hasn't even come out. So he's generated excitement because that's all of his followers are there for. They're not there to see Mike's version of Wolverine or Mike's version of Batman. They're there to see Space Cat.
Right. And that's what's cool because it isn't fan art, it's his own creation. And that's I guess more than anything, that's why I wasn't sure how he would do with it, because, you know, I know, like, I get royalty checks from old fan art t-shirts I've done, and they sell, and now those are just like $2 here, $2 there, and I'm you know, I get a decent amount of royalties from those, and I'm not even, you know, they're like old prints because I haven't done needles in a while, but people eat that stuff up. But my own stuff doesn't sell like that. So yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird thing because like I don't have like hardly any subscribers on like YouTube, but you know, like I still get royalties for Attack of Literacy from like almost 10 years ago. And it's like that thing sells really well. Like on Society 6, it sells, like it gets reprinted a lot. There's a couple designs I've made that have kind of like generated that kind of self-generated passive income. But like for me, like the goal has always been to try to kind of gear it more towards specifically quarterly stories. So that's like why, like on YouTube, I think it's important to do things like 100 days, like show your progress on your book, so you're kind of selling it as you go. So I think like the steps you're making with like Monkey Junk is a good way to gauge it, because a lot of the time, if you make like passive income on a print or something like that, even if it's like a line that you make that you're not super passionate about, then it's not that much different than your day job. And to me, that's kind of like, that's why I even took a day job, because I, for a long time, was just doing that. Like I was selling my style for art and getting clients that came specifically to me with no middleman. But it after a while, like it gets kind of old. However, you know, that said, I did do a limited edition print for Monty Python really recently for Gallery 1988. It's up on their site. Yep. Hasn't sold out yet. It's only an edition of 50, so I don't know. We'll see what the sales are like next month. I'll probably talk about that on my channel. But it's like,
yeah, I'm actually really interested to hear about that. I had that thought when you did the vlog when you went to the event. I was curious how well it would do, especially amongst all of the other prints. You know, you've got, it's almost like a personless artist alley. You've got so many options. Which one do you choose? And
yeah, it's a crazy gallery.
Certain ones that people gravitate to. You know?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, like I know at least like 2 or 3 have sold, because I know like the night of they did, but I don't know what those numbers are going to look like. And like I said, with Gallery 1988, from what I've heard, like most people aren't doing the shows to like rake it in, because you're, you know, charging like a pretty low amount. It's not like you're selling oil paintings or something, you know? So it's like, you know, the point of that gallery is literally supposedly exposure. We'll see. I don't know. But it's interesting.
Is that how they're paying you?
Well, no, they're paying like a gallery, so they take their cut to give us our cut. And you know, they're gonna pay us with pictures of Spider-Man. No, they didn't come to us promising exposure and print it for their own taking. That's pretty common too. But what's weird to me is like I'm interested in building a brand, but I feel like I'm kind of in between what you were saying and like this other road, because I feel like I I don't have a couple brands that I want to launch. I have like one specific brand that I'm interested in, because the other stuff all kind of feels like brand stuff. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm almost at a crossroads myself where I want to, anything online that's attached to me is Chris McQuinlan art. That's, I've set that up years ago so people can find me nice and easily. Because before that I had multiple different usernames and whatnot, and which were just ridiculous. And I thought, but now I'm at a point where well, do I want to focus 100% on Monkey Junk and make that my brand and just be Monkey Junk? Or do I want to be just Chris McQuinlan art still? And I'm very much more leaning towards just using my name, because eventually Monkey Junk will end.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest that your name, use your name.
Yeah.
So it's a weird concept though, and I think I never would have thought of it, many years ago when I was a lot younger. But the idea of my name being the brand seems so weird, but it makes so much sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like I'm always pushing quarterly stories, but I always push my name as well. And so like even those prints from like 10 years ago that sell, like whenever they sell or they're Googled, they up my Google ranking, so it's like the name is marketed. It's not marketed hugely, but it's marketed, it's embedded. But it's weird because this big realization happened to me tying into what you were saying, kind of similar realization when I was at a comic convention. And I was looking at the guys that are like known at the comic conventions. And so like somebody would be like, that's Shannon Wheeler. He's Too Much Coffee Man. Like, you know what I mean? There would be these guys who were really well known, like instantly recognizable as cartoonists. And they all had a brand attached to it. So it's, that's Sergio Aragonés, right? Gru, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they all have this brand affiliated with who they are that kind of carries with them. And I realized, to me, I think that's the way to do it. Because I think, you should be pretty much what you're saying almost, where it's you need to be branding yourself. But at the same time, if yourself is just this generic output of everything, then it's almost it can almost be useless to even brand yourself because you just get associated with everything.
That's it. I think you need to be like Coca-Cola. When you see it, or when you just see a small glimpse of it, you know it. You know what it is. So if you're in like I said, you go into the artist alley and you see a banner with their logo of their name, you know it instantly. You're going to gravitate towards it because you've got that interest. But if all you see is just artwork or just someone's name with random pictures on the wall or just prints on the wall or whatnot, you're more likely to miss it. And if you are branded properly, and this sort of leads on to I want to talk about Fiverr a little bit. If you don't have the capacity to create a logo or whatnot, go and get a logo, because people will start associating with that logo. But make sure you use it. Like I noticed Scotty Young, he uses his logo is his signature, but if you go to his website, his header is just his name in a box, which is what he signs as all of his artwork with, and his banners would have the same thing, so where it is. If you're in a sea of people and you can't see him directly, you can see that logo and you know where to go. And I mean, I being a graphic designer now, have the capacity to do it, but for other artists, if you don't feel comfortable designing a good logo or one that you think is going to be able to sort of stand up against all the other logos, against all the big guys, go find someone who does, which has led me to looking at Fiverr for services like that, finding someone who's good at doing what I can't do, so I can better myself for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Fiverr, and I would say that might not be the best place to go. But
I mean, if you have the capacity to spend the money and get, a graphic designer who you're actually going to be assisting, and helping them pay their rent, you know, or a mate of yours, like, you know, Josh, you know, you can go hire Josh and get a logo made, or, you know, if you want a zombie logo, you can hire Scott. But like for myself, like we discussed this before, like I'm a single, you know, we live on a single income, my family, so I don't have a whole lot of cash. So when I'm trying to think of solutions that are also cost effective for myself, because I want to make it larger, and that's where the thought of Fiverr comes from, because if I can get someone who's somewhat competent to help me build my brand, to do an animation intro video for my videos on YouTube, just to make them look a little bit more presentable and more professional, I can do that. But that's not to mean that down the track, when I can afford to hire more professional people at a better rate, that I'm going to do that too. But it's, you know, working within my means now. You know, I think I earn maybe $20 on Patreon a month. That $20 can go towards me growing my brand and supporting other artists. I think I support about like 7 people. I have like a little budget out of my Patreon money that I spend on other Patreons. So yeah, giving back what I'm getting in.
Yeah, that's kind of when I eventually do a Patreon. That's one of the things that I'm thinking of doing. I don't know if it's the same. So, I mean, does it still, I've noticed that it doesn't, and I don't know if I'm just not looking in the right place, but did they change it where you don't see what actually somebody's making on Patreon now? Or is that
you can choose to make it private?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, because I was like, well, I hate to like start a Patreon and then like not have anyone, you know. So I was like, well, maybe I should just hit up all my friends on Patreon and say, oh, we'll just do a, you know, I'll be your patron, you be my Patreon. And, I mean, and I mean, I don't like the sub for sub when people say I'll sub for sub on YouTube, or that I don't like, but I don't know, it seems a little different with the Patreon, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
I understand it. I think was a year or two ago, when Mike and Marsh were doing their Patreons, we did that where we sort of swapped with each other and did the, you know, pledge for pledge, because we knew in the long run, like, if someone's coming to your Patreon to actually consider it when they actually see that other people are supporting you, they're more likely to continue to support you. It's like Instagram followers. If you've got a lot of followers, that instantly creates an interest, because like, well, 10,000 people follow this guy. He must be doing something. He must be posting really good content. I'm going to follow him too. It's on that sort of theory.
Right.
I agree with you though, Scott. I hate it when people do that on YouTube.
So I know we were talking about branding a little bit, and then we were talking and we mentioned we wanted to talk about art styles, but yeah. So I just kind of wanted to just briefly touch on, because we've all three of us have, I think, very distinct brands, at least from each other. So I'd like to just kind of find out how you kind of arrived on that kind of look, what kind of look you're going for and everything. I know Josh is a very kind of ornate, kind of old world style. I don't know how best you would describe it, but I mean, it comes through everything from the music he uses on his videos to, you know, to all his branding and everything like that. So I guess we'll start kind of with Josh. And I mean, obviously the obvious answer is that, oh, that's just kind of what I like. But
well, it's weird. The ornate thing definitely has a lot to do with just my interest in graphic design. Because like, just graphically, like, one of my favorite things in the world is like, if you're like on Disneyland on Main Street, people are looking at all the rides and stuff, and I'm looking at the signs they haven't replaced yet that are all hand lettered and beautifully done, and like kind of drooling over that typography. So like, for me, that's part of the branding. And then the old-timey kind of old world thing is also just sort of something that I started delving into more and more with this comic, because like my comic has constant references to kind of like the traditions of the old Sunday comic strip. And so they're kind of thrown in there. And so like, it just kind of feels more cohesive and feels like it's kind of representing what I'm going for now, which is a little different than my old kind of B-movie aesthetic that I got known for. Like that's what I used to get work for. It was like very much like what I did for that Monty Python poster, where it's like a classic old comic or like retro B movie poster, that kind of look. Yeah. But now I'm going more for trying to gear people towards what I'm doing now, which is this auto bio, more like artsy black and white thing. So I've been trying to kind of move my branding to where it's black and white. It's really simple. And then but I have to admit, like, I haven't been spending as much time on branding as I used to. Partially because I'm really trying to put all my eggs in one basket. And it's a basket I know might drop and not lead to anything. But at this point, it's kind of the basket I'm interested in. Like, there's not a lot that I'm interested in outside of that. So that's kind of how I came about that kind of branding. But what I hope people get from seeing my stuff is some sense of cohesion, and some sense of like a feeling of what my comics are like. However, I struggle with branding, and this is like something I'm really interested in hearing you guys talk about. But one of my biggest problems that I have is like I have trouble getting people to my comic. I don't have trouble once somebody's read past about 10 pages keeping people.
Right.
People get invested when they read it, but it's like to me it is still a huge struggle just to get people to give it a chance. Yeah. Like, sit down and read 4 pages, especially because it's heavy material.
Yeah. So have you ever spent time marketing and going to review sites and YouTube channels and whatnot, and actually presenting your comic and saying, look, I just want to create a bit of a buzz on my comic, and I've got 50 pages already online for free, but I just want to get some attention. Can we do an interview or something and talk about my comic?
Yeah, that's the thing. I wouldn't even know who to approach. That's something I really would need to kind of ask around. I know when I'm at the point of needing, like, getting it to print, one of my acquaintances, Dave Baker, he just launched a Kickstarter for Action Hospital, and it just closed, and he asked for like 1,500, closed at like $7,000.
Wow.
And that guy is really good at press. Like, so that's somebody I'm going to be picking the brain of. You guys, honestly, like this whole community, like the hundreds community, I'll probably be asking a lot, but I didn't even think to kind of start hitting it now. I'm kind of curious.
When I was working on Nevermore a couple of years ago, as I was setting up and I was putting the files ready for print while I was getting everything, all the Kickstarter and everything ready, like I have friends who do like review blogs and stuff like that down here in Australia. So I just emailed them and asked them if they'd be interested in doing it. And like, look, I'll give you a free copy of the comic, and you can review it. And if it sucks, it sucks. But whatever, just give me a review. That'd be awesome. And quite a few people did. And I handed out flyers. I mailed like little postcards to comic shops around the area and said, look, these are free. If you can just pop them out, give them to people, here's some stickers or whatever, just to create buzz. That was a good way to do it too. Because, there's your target audience right there, a comic shop. And if they just get a free postcard with some cool art on the front and then a little blurb on the back that says quarterly stories, there's 1 in 100, that's still one person that's reading. And then it's hopefully you get that one person who's enthusiastic enough to tell their friends to read it. Word of mouth is still, I think the internet's great, but I think so many people don't consider how powerful word of mouth is this day and age as it whatever was 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like I've had to do that in the past, like with Numb. I did a press release. It was mailed out, and I had a friend who like was a writer, like look it over and review the body copy on the back, because, and this is advice I was given, I'm imagining this hasn't changed a lot, but they said basically when you're doing like a press release, you want to write it as if it's the article you want written about yourself. because a lot of writers, like staff writers, are just like you and I, like at our creative jobs, we're just overloaded. And so if they see something that's practically written for them, they're like, oh, sweet, I'll just run this. And so you kind of control the press in that way. So I did, and oddly enough, like there were like local newspapers and stuff ran it, and almost all of the articles, like Newsarama put it up, a bunch of these like comic sites and stuff put it up, and most of the articles were like pretty much almost what I wrote about myself with like a few words changed. And it was cool because it's like I wrote some flattering stuff because I was like, if I can control this, that'd be cool. So
awesome.
That was really cool, but that's something that's like I feel like I really have to be able to focus on to try to do again. And then, like I said, that was a list that Jeff Mason from Alternative Comics gave me of like the media at that time, and that was back when you had a lot of newspapers. Like so. It's not quite the same landscape. And so that's where I'm like, I need to learn more about like comic review podcasts, and I just got to get my ear to the ground and kind of start hustling. But I do have a game plan, so it'll be interesting.
Talking about that, like if you like people make careers out of being social media marketing gurus. If you were to find someone and essentially either pay them or work out some form of trade or whatnot, you've then saved yourself days and days worth of work promoting your, they're actually going to the review sites. You just give them the content and then they can actually go out and do that work for you. So, that's my mindset at the moment, again, talking about like the Fiverr and whatnot, delegating to people who actually know how to do it.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea, man.
Like we have a girl at work, her job is purely social media marketing and, just dealing with clients, on a digital platform. And, she posts on Instagram twice a day and she posts on the Facebook and she sends out the newsletters, and that's her role. It's a full-time job nearly because, she's interacting with our clients. And we've got the majority of our clients are old. They don't like social media, but now they're getting engaged because someone's engaging with them. And, meanwhile, the rest of the team's working in the background, actually getting the work done.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. It's going to be interesting to see because, like, I'm curious. I'm going to have to ask you a ton of questions as you're dipping into that because I don't know what the costs are like with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
For an individual.
As cheap as it sounds, I'm hoping that there's someone on Fiverr who wants to do social media marketing, and I'm like, okay, cool. Here you go. Here's all the artwork. Go nuts.
That's a good call, man. That's kind of interesting. I'm curious.
It could be a bad, I don't know, but it's a risk. Like if big companies don't exist by not taking risks.
Yeah,
I need to
totally
take
true.
risks. Yeah, and if I fall down, I can only get back up again anyway. I mean, I fell down last year and stopped doing artwork and stopped posting online, and that killed me. I had no interaction, and it wasn't until, like I said, started doing the 100 days of making comics and got reinvigorated and revitalized myself. I got back up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel stronger than ever.
I wanted to ask you because I know you had a video that kind of went viral, Chris, and I've kind of seen this happen a few times before with other friends of mine or just other people where they get this momentum going and then just something happens where they can't post or whatever, and it's like I'm worried. Hopefully I'll never be in that position because like right now I've got a video it's doing pretty well and it's bringing in subscribers and stuff. But I think like you've got to be ready when that happens, and that's the best time to start putting out more videos and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I mean, because you weren't able to post or whatever. But I mean, that video it's nearing like 1 million views, isn't it?
I don't know if it's nearly at 1 million, but it's definitely got a lot of buzz.
Maybe not 1 million. What am I thinking of? Maybe like 100,000. I'm way off.
Yeah, I think it's nearing 100,000, which is still just absolutely mind blowing. But yeah, because of that video, my subscriber count started going up and up very quickly, and I was doing nothing about it. It was really concerning to me. Actually, when I got the email from YouTube saying that if I don't accrue enough minutes and enough views or whatever it was, that they were going to cut my monetization, and it freaked me out. And I was like, oh well, I don't want that to happen, because I like getting $20 a month from YouTube. That's nice. And so I thought, okay, well, I need to come back to YouTube. How am I going to do that? And then I'm like, well, I need to make monkey junk. So I'm going to do those things. Those are the things that are going to bring it back, and doing daily videos completely revitalized my channel. It's art related and vlog related, which two of the things my viewers are there for. The other thing is mainly tutorial videos, and that's what I do eventually want to get back to as well. But yeah, I was definitely not prepared for that really weird hit of views. I just didn't know what to make of it. I still don't understand it either. It's very confusing to me. But like, I did the math a few weeks ago. I was looking, because last year when I was really trying to build my social media, I was actually noting down my followers every week. Every Tuesday, I would go into my Instagram, my YouTube, my Facebook, and I would start writing down how many followers or subscribers I had, so I could understand growth and actually understand which social media platform was the better one. And of course, YouTube was winning by far. And I thought, well, I'm an idiot. I should have been using YouTube 9 years ago, when it just started out and was really booming. But yeah, I think I had looked at those numbers a couple of weeks ago, and I think it started off around the 300 mark, 300 subscribers. And when I looked today, I think this morning it was at like 1,511.
It's awesome.
And like in a year, that's the most amount of growth I've ever had in 1 year.
And it's
1
so
year
weird
is very short in comparison to how long I've been creating art.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens, because you see that happen to people, and you try to figure out, well, what can I do to try to duplicate that? And I don't think there's any way. You just got to keep putting out stuff, and then sooner or later something like hits, because like I would launch a video and I'm like, well, maybe this will be the one that hits. Maybe this will be the one that hits, and then I kind of forget about it, and then I find out that the one that's actually starting to gain the most that's really starting to drive people to my channel, and the one that's getting the most views, was an older video. Somehow it just like caught on. So it wasn't like, well, maybe this new video it'll hit, and because I've seen that happen with other people. Because I saw it happen with Kevin, I saw it happen with Holly, where they both had these 2 videos that they posted, and then it just blew their channels up. But I'm like, well, okay. So I don't know, it's just like a
bad trap to get into as well, is having that notion that you're going to post the one thing that's going to make the internet, a buzz. You're like, oh, I've got this great idea for a video and no one else has done it, and it's going to change the world, and I'm going to post it and the world's going to go mental for it. And BuzzFeed's going to get it, and then it's going to be on TMZ, and people will be making fun of me, but it won't matter because now I've got $1 million from YouTube. And that was constantly my mistake, making videos, because I was catering all of my videos to become viral. That was my idea, my notion. I had all of the tags there, etc., etc. And God, it's so discouraging when they don't go viral.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, years later, someone just finds a video and then they watch it, and then they link it on a Reddit page, and other people watch it, and then the algorithm clicks over and goes, well, this must be an interesting video, and now it's going to be suggested to every 1 out of 1,000 YouTube users, and then it just happens. It's the slow burn. I hate it so much. I hate that's the reality of it. But it is the slow burn. That you just be patient. I mean, if you get the chance to be the Holly Brown and have that video that all of a sudden has 100,000 views, and you know, people start, you know, going mental over her and subscribing to her, that's awesome. And you know, do hope for that. Like, that'd be great. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
But the reality is, be in for the slow burn. If you really care about it, if you care about your YouTube channel and your artwork, and like in your case, Scott, teaching people how to be better artists and better creators, you obviously care a lot, Scott. You've been doing this for so long. It shows in the amount of content that you've created. You're obviously in it for the long haul, and that's going to pay off. And it is paying off.
Yeah, I mean, most people, I think,
subscribers.
Most people that want just to be famous on YouTube or whatever, they would have given up a long time ago, because you have to. I mean, you have to enjoy it. And I, you know, if I didn't enjoy it, I would have given up a long time ago. So it's more than just views, but you can kind of, sometimes you get in that trap of like, all right, well, you know, what do I have to do to make a video that you know, that goes crazy? But then and it's always like, then you just forget about it, and then all of a sudden something starts happening. Like, oh, okay, cool. So the best thing to do is try not to think about it, but it's hard not to, you know?
Yeah, I think, like, from my own experience, like seeing a few iterations of like marketing, and like YouTube's totally new to me. You guys have way more success with it than I do. But what's interesting to me is just watching this kind of, like, one thing that's kind of across the board that I've noticed is just being persistent, and of course considering quality as well.
I watched a video with Jake Parker the other day. He apologized for not creating videos a lot, and he said the reason he does it is because he wants to create quality videos, not quantity.
That's awesome.
And I was like, that's so true. That's yeah.
And I think,
made me think twice about my shitty 100-day videos.
Well, to do the challenge, it's like even now, I mean, we're both in the thick of it, and it's like, you know, to me, this is my first time really officially taking the challenge, and I'm like, I know myself well enough to know if I over edit, that'll be my death, like, on the challenge. So my aim is to try to keep them short, and then I struggle with that, like trying to keep them short.
I've started tinkering around with like doing Ken Burns effects and adding like some like cool trip hop music into like my drawing videos now, like, because now I'm actually drawing. I can record while I do it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have so much fun with this, and then I have to stop myself. I'm like, no, just get the video done, you idiot. Click share and just get it on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying, but I mean, every once in a while I get trapped. But most of what I've noticed though is like, you know, you basically have to just keep seeding it out there, and as long as you're passionate about what you're doing, then, you know, the process of doing it is the payoff. Because, like, I know people who have big YouTube. I mean, we've all talked to Holly. We've all talked to, like, I have friends who have art that they put online and it sells in a day. And yet, like, everyone I meet, every artist, like, when I go to the like National Cartoonist Society, I meet these artists like who I'm like, this is the guy I want to be, you know, that like they're just like famous and like they're known for their art and stuff. It's like the one thing that's across the board is nobody feels like they're there. And then aside from the fact that like the people who are there are hopefully passionate about what they're doing, so they're not really focused on getting there. And it doesn't really change a lot. Point being, like, you still have to do the work. Like, if you get known as like a massively famous cartoonist, you still have to do the work and make the art, you know? So like, I don't know, I think staying consistent with it and just consistently getting your stuff out there, and then like being passionate about it to where you care, like, inevitably it's either going to go one way or the other, but you're not going to be in a worse position than you are now, you know? Yeah. So like,
that's right. If you love what you're doing anyway, people are going to notice it, and that's what people are going to follow you for. Yeah. The passion that you have for your craft.
But it can be discouraging. Like, to me, what's discouraging for me, I'll just be honest, like, is like it discourages me that Captain Obvious, this stupid joke shirt I did like 10 years ago, is still viral online. And this thing I've poured like 3 years of my life into, I have trouble getting 60 people interested in. Like that's really like that's the struggle. But once again,
but your Captain Obvious t-shirt, is that a threadless shirt?
It's a threadless, and now I guess a T Fury shirt too. But
yeah, so
and then a print.
Already that had the marketing of threadless behind it the whole way.
Yeah,
and that's a huge difference. Like,
yeah, it had the mechanics to get it going.
That's threadless going, we're going to market this for you. We've got a whole team dedicated because we want to sell your product because it's going to make us money.
Yeah.
As opposed to quarterly stories on your website that you're hosting, that you're creating every day, and not having the time to do the other side of things. Which is
a good argument for looking into outsourcing it. That's kind of brilliant. That's funny. It's a good conversation because I didn't consider it. I mean, I've considered some ground game stuff that I want to do, but I haven't even thought about it.
It was one of those thoughts that I had. I'm like, why didn't I think of this sooner? It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it all comes down to money. In the end of the day, you got to spend money to make money, and you hear that all the time. And like in my head, it was like, oh yeah, I have to spend money on paper and tools and all these materials, and then I'll make money with my artwork. I never thought of it like I have to spend money on another person with experience in another field to make the artwork that I'm creating of interest to other people. Like if your stuff's in a gallery right now with those prints, with a curator, it's that curator's job to sell those prints so that company makes money. Otherwise, that company doesn't earn any money, and then that gallery goes bankrupt and they have to close down.
Yeah.
So they hire that curator to do that for them.
Yeah, and they have PR.
You've done it,
yeah.
Like you rely on that curator to be the best they are at selling prints, so you can make some money at the end of the exhibition.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That's
so why we should totally do that as individuals.
No, you're right.
And no one's going to know anyway. This is all background stuff.
Yeah.
What people see on Instagram and YouTube is you as the brand, the artist. They don't see the other person doing all the extra little bit of work, and they're being compensated for it. So it's not like they're busting their balls for nothing. They're earning a living. You've given someone a job, essentially. So you're supporting other creators in what they enjoy doing.
Which is fascinating because at my day job, I don't think twice about like hiring freelancers or like outsourcing a firm to like even draw stuff in vector if need be in India or like whatever it takes to get the deadline and get the work out. And then I don't think twice about the fact that like I'm not handling the marketing side of things. I'm making art for the marketing side of things, and then the marketing department's handling that. The sales teams are handling the sales. That's pretty smart.
Illustrators don't have sale reps who get to go out on the road and talk to all the people who they know will buy the artwork.
Yeah.
We are our own sales reps, and we do it from the bedroom. And like you said, you don't know where to go to get interviews on the internet.
Yeah.
But the sales rep will know, and they'll go there and they'll convince those people that they need to know about Quarterly Stories because it's the next best comic book that you've never read, and it's going to be bigger than Bone. And they're like, holy crap, I didn't know about this comic, and now I know about it. Let's get this Josh guy on the phone and interview him straight away. You don't have that.
That's a good call. We should we should pool our resources like collectively, like because that might be more appealing. We could be like, we have 4 people.
Hundreds is a massive community that probably know people who know people.
Yeah,
that's a huge community. Mike has group. I know it's private, but select people in there who actually want help with art, called the Indie Comics Bullpen. A similar thing should exist for designers who have those resources. Like I remember talking about it on the last video we did with all the other creators. We're talking about. I don't know if we were talking about it or I just watched it, but we're talking about Jason Brubaker. Was it Jason Brubaker? No, Kesh. Kesh, who's just started doing the 100-day challenge, used to edit the videos for Jake Parker. So that's Jake Parker outsourcing to utilize his time better. He'd film the videos, give it to Kesh. Kesh would edit them, send it back, and Jake uploads it, and there you go. He saved himself 5 hours or a day of editing to work on his art.
That's cool. Yeah, 'cause you can tell, like, I've been watching Kesh's videos too, and you can tell that it's definitely a lot of fancy editing and stuff. So he definitely knows his stuff. But yeah, so I was wondering, because like I said, I'm not a fan of Fiverr, but another option would be, I mean, obviously we're all artists. We have a skill that somebody wants. I wonder, is there some sort of a site that's more like a bartering site where you could trade your skill for somebody else's skill? Like they can match something up.
That sounds amazing.
If it doesn't exist, somebody's going to jump on that. I wish I had the wherewithal to do that. Because I mean, I have to imagine it has to exist. Why? I mean,
skilltrade.com. Yeah, copyright it right now.
Yeah, but because there's a lot of stuff like I can't for the life of me figure out how to get my my open broadcast software to work to do the live streams the way I want. And I know there's people out there that know how to do that. So I mean, something like that if I could do some kind of trade out, or just more technical stuff like my WordPress stuff. I mean, I can do a certain amount of stuff in WordPress. I mean, I know how to do certain things, but I want to kind of overhaul my website. But I'm afraid that, like, and I don't know, if I go with a different theme, do I lose all my kind of the format of all my blogs up until now? Do I have to start from scratch? Can I bring those over into a new format? I mean, that's the kind of thing that I don't know, and I'm afraid if I mess with it, that I'm going to destroy something. So that type of thing. There's all that kind of stuff. But what's cool is, like I said, as artists, we've got a skill that a lot of people, is valuable. So that might be something we can do that, especially if we don't have a lot of money to do sort of a barter thing or whatever. And you can definitely do it yourself, put that out, just put the call out on Facebook or wherever, the majority of people that kind of congregate. But like I said, if that website doesn't exist, I mean, it's crazy if it doesn't exist. I don't know what it is, but it's got to. It's just such a good idea. So
I want to mention one negative of Fiverr that
you can mention one. I mean, I would mention tons.
Well, I mean, there's quite a lot of negatives, but one of the big ones as a client, like if you're going to be a client of Fiverr, especially with logo design, understand
logos.
Exactly. Understand the likelihood that the logo you're buying is legally usable and wouldn't get you sued by a company that owns that logo is very slim. The majority of logo designs that I've seen coming out of Fiverr are usually kind of ripoffs, and they're a lot of the time just wholesale pre-existing designs that they're vectorizing and reselling as your company's design. So that's something to be really cautious of when it comes to branding. But if the way I could see it being possibly helpful is if you say need some coding help on your website, you need somebody to kind of fix it real quick, and you want to back it up and make sure you change your password right afterwards, or if you needed help
to write your elevator pitch.
Exactly. So if you need like freelance writing really quick or whatever, so like that kind of thing is a little more fascinating to me for Fiverr. I've only really used it once through my workplace, and it was literally for a coding issue. We had built like a WordPress site, and there was this bug, and we were like, "Hey, we'll give you $15 if you fix this," and they fixed it. And we changed all our passwords and everything, and it was like $15, which is cool. So.
Mike Emirates in the chat says Skillshare.com, but he says that's the site we're talking about. But I thought Skillshare was like tutorials.
Yeah, I'm just looking at its online classes. Yeah, unless he's just saying, because I mentioned Skillshare.com as an option, and then I think he's just pointing out that it already exists.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought Skillshare was something else, but so I kind of want to go back to just the branding and everything. So Chris, do you have in mind kind of the direction you want to go for your branding, or do you already have something in place, kind of, or?
I think at this point, I'm so focused now on Monkey Junk and Kill the Hero that those will be the two things that I'll be focusing on entirely. So when it comes to my Instagram and social media, like that's pretty much all you'll be seeing now. And same with my Patreon. So I'll be leading, Patreon will be sort of the hub of where you can actually see the good stuff, and all the social media will be leading towards that. And you'll be able to get like leaks of content through YouTube and everything. But I'll be definitely building my branding around that. I remember last year my goal was to be able to just make stickers and pins of just Monkey Junk characters and weapons and backgrounds and logos and be able to sell them. So I'm probably going to be, I suppose, in the same light of Kevin Cross with Monkey Mod. Yeah. That's his goal, is he wants to make Monkey Mod his career. That's what he wants to survive off of. And I suppose that's my same goal too with Monkey Junk. And Kill the Hero is just sort of a side project, a card game I'm working on with a friend of mine. So,
So Monkey Junk, like I saw the video of you doing the inks, I think for page 1, and
yes, yeah,
it looks super good.
Oh, thank you.
So I like the style shift you've kind of chosen to do. It's like subtle from the last iteration, but I think it's cool.
Yeah. I thought I was going to go further left field when I started this, and was redesigning the characters, but I think I liked what I'd done originally with Monkey Junk, and I really liked the characters and what they had to offer. I wanted to make some slight changes, and I wanted to work more on backgrounds and things like that. And as I've mentioned, I've been reading Wonton Soup and King City, and just sort of analyzing the pages. And when I looked at those pages, one of the things I noticed was they never rule their lines. Like there's never any rigid lines for their backgrounds, their buildings, and anything technical. And I really liked that, and I thought that would be a style that would suit. And when I look back at the other stuff that I did completely digitally, I was using the rules, the line tools and everything to create that, and I didn't like it. I didn't like that finish anymore. I wanted it to be more natural, and that's why I decided to traditional ink as well, because I had intended to do the whole thing on the iPad, but I didn't like the feel. I didn't like the look of it. I knew I'd be able to achieve that look going traditional again.
So, Chris, when you approach a new project, do you usually try to find like a different style? Because I know, I looked at the stuff you were doing like with Nevermorrow, and that was different than the stuff you were doing with like Legend of Rock, which seemed a little different than the stuff I haven't seen a lot of stuff from Kill the Hero, but I imagine that's probably different as well. So is that something you consciously try to do, or?
I think it's just sort of the slow evolution when I actually decide that I'm going to do a proper project, a project that I plan on seeing through. I like to spend a bit of time working on those characters and working on those environments that is going to suit the project, rather than just sort of diving in and hoping for the best. Like with Monkey Junk, I know it's going to be zany and kooky, so I know that I can get away with loose lines and really big, bold characters with ridiculous characteristics, like big floppy ears and giant swords and things like that. Whereas with Nevermorrow, I knew I wanted it to be, not that I draw in that way, but more realistic. So when you read it, you feel more closer to the character, as if you could put yourselves in their shoes. And there was a lot of experimentation with Nevermorrow as well, because I knew that I wanted to test inking with both a brush pen and a liner pen to get different contrasts. So when I worked on things like the spaceship, I knew I had to use a liner pen completely, because it was a rigid, solid object. It was a man-made creation. Whereas when you look at the forests, when they land on the planet, everything's done in a brush pen because it's natural and organic. I wanted to play around with those ideas. With Kill the Hero, I think I really had a stylistic choice. I just kind of went into it. Like I had a list of characters I had to draw, and I just drew them. And that's just what happened. But we had to do the card designs, and then I had to think more graphically about how that would work and how that would affect different characters and color choices, readability for the end user or the player, essentially. Is it going to be understandable? Are they going to be able to read it? Are they going to be able to comprehend that a heart means it's a hit point or a life? Or do they just think that maybe the character's in love, So yeah, I suppose there's definitely a train of thought in there when I'm approaching each thing, each project. When I'm sketching though, when I'm just drawing, I think I just like to explore and have fun. But I am finding now, especially with Monkey Junk, because I enjoy the characters so much, that the style that I've sort of ended up on, one, I've become far more comfortable with it. It doesn't matter what I draw, I'm really happy with the end result. And two, I'm just lucky because they're fun characters. Like, they've got great emotions, and I can really toy around with them. Whereas before, like, I never felt 100% comfortable with what I was drawing. I wasn't really happy with the style there. If I go way back when I started doing conventions, like my biggest inspirations were J. Scott Kemble and Jim Lee. So I was trying to draw really detailed, muscly, scantily clad, mini-hipped, characters based off of fan art. I drew Deadpool with, tons of muscles and really complex guns, and I only did it because I wanted to sell prints. I wanted to make money. And then very regularly I found myself just drawing this loose, fun, dorky style. And people were like, oh, I love that. That's really cool. Like, you really have a style. Like, I can always pick that it's your artwork. And it never really clicked with me back then. Like, that's what, that's my style. And then over time and over the years, I just decided, I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm sick of drawing these characters. I find it really hard to draw real anatomy. I've tried and tried and tried, and I don't feel comfortable doing it, and it's hard and it's a struggle, but I have the most fun when I draw loose and fun and silly characters.
But
so
I think
that.
I think there's a skill with it too. It's not like they're just like loose and fun and silly. Like, the weird thing, a lot of people when they take on cartooning, like, I've talked about this before, but it's like, there's usually a visual breakdown in most cartooning books of like the 3 different tiers of animation, and it usually kind of starts with like rubber hose, and then kind of maybe UPA, and actually maybe 4 tiers, and then like Disney, and then like after Disney, like the more like realistic, like not Stanley, he wasn't a cartoonist, but Kirby like kind of style, or even further than that. Like it kind of, there's different gradations. But what's interesting to me is like, I would put yours like at that beginning part, but that by no means means like easy to execute, because like to me, what's awesome about your work is like, I've had to work in, I'm less comfortable in that kind of style. I've had to work in a sort of similar style. It's not as unique and like signatured as yours, but for when I worked for an education company, and the thing that really blows me away about, just on a technical level, the stuff you've been doing for Monkey Junk is like you have really solid like turnarounds. Like, your characters don't, like, it's so consistent, and the form that's like within the characters is so clear, and that's actually really like, to me, I admire that a lot. And actually, I've always kind of wanted to ask you about it. Like, how did you get kind of that good at sort of breaking down your subjects into simple shapes and then being so consistent with those shapes? Because they even seem more consistent in this iteration, like, even on the sheets, than the previous one. And so it seems like something maybe you focused on. I don't know. I was just curious.
If I go like right back, like, I did cartooning classes with, I've mentioned his name sometimes. I don't think anyone really knows of him. Rod Tokley. he was an illustrator. He's done stuff for Phantom Comics, and he even did some Marvel stuff, I think, like coloring and whatnot. But anyway, he did cartooning classes, and I did those for quite a few years, and he was such a stickler for learning structures or baselines. And he would give us projects. I remember one of my best friends now, we met through the class, he gave him the project of he had to draw, I think it was like 300 baselines in a week. And he had to, you know, he would just teach us to go through comics, like all of our favorite comics, and just trace poses. So we would come in week after week with piles of tracing paper filled with poses, because, you know, this was drawn by artists who knew what they were doing. They understood anatomy, they understood dynamic poses and whatnot. And that's pretty much how I learnt, by copying and tracing. And I wasn't copying the character, I was taking that character and breaking it up into sections, almost like the sausage method, you know?
Yeah.
And I had pages upon pages upon pages of them, and it got into a habit where sometimes I would just draw pages of poses of me trying to do it myself, to figure out proportions and everything, and which came in really interesting when I started doing little bits of life drawing, because half of mine were just baselines. I wasn't even drawing the person, I was just drawing baselines to figure out where everything went, you know, the different, you know, angles of where they were sitting. Like I would move place and go, okay, so that's how that works in this pose, and then and I could see the differences. And I've consistently done that throughout my art career, I suppose you could call it. I still do it today. I love to pick up my books and grab a bit of tracing paper over the top and like, okay, so how did so Brandon Graham, how did he draw these characters? And I would break it up so I could understand what it looked like to the artist before they started penciling. But yeah, so coming to Monkey Junk now, I did do a lot of that. I did spend some time just creating poses, and if you look back into some of my earlier videos within the first week or so, I spent time drawing what the characters would look like in particular poses or with different facial expressions, because I want to be invested in my characters as much as the readers are. I want to be able to bring forth characters that people can relate to, or just be excited about when, you know, something bad happens, you know, and there's going to be some bad things that happen. I want people to care, and just drawing the characters aren't enough. They need to want to love the character. And that, you know, there's so many things. There's so many like Steven Universe. I'm not a big fan of it, but you know, it's a show that viewers are invested in those characters because they love them so much, and those characters are very bold and they have very interesting shapes. And that's another thing I incorporated, was interesting shapes. If you look at Abby, she's really long and lanky with this ridiculous hair that just flows everywhere. You've got Chris, who is a pig, which is weird enough as it is, who has a big bulbous head and a short stubby body. And then you've got Geordie, who really, when you put him in the lineup, is this regular kid. There's nothing really interesting about him, except a big mop top of hair. Because he's the relatable character. He's the one that everything's about at the end of the day. He's stuck along this weird ride with everyone else, and he's trying to figure out why. He's the Peter Parker of the comic. Yeah, I hope that answered the question.
No, it totally does. I think it's something that I think it like I said, it's something that when you toy at at drawing in that style, like you really appreciate when it's done well. And so like for me, it's like I alternate, like I'm going to be alternating after this chapter that I'm currently working on in style again. And my style is way more wobbly when I work in that way, because it's like I just haven't gotten down form quite to the extent like where it breaks like that when I'm working in that style, and not in that style, but in a style that's more close to that family. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's interesting, but there's guys that just blow me away, like who work even simpler than any of us, like Graham Annabelle is one of my favorite cartoonists. And I mean, like if you look at his Grickle stuff, it's like a stick figure. and
Yep.
just the through lines on those characters are so skillful that like he says more with like pretty much a stick figure than most people can say with like, you know, a fully rendered illustration. It's crazy. But to me it's cool to see. And like I said, I don't know if you've noticed it, but like to me, like from the early times of you doing the 100 days and even doing those turnarounds, it's like the characters really, it just seems like they're really solid now. Like in a way I haven't seen them, like I've seen them solid before, but it's like it does seem like you've leveled up on it, or maybe even simplified. I don't know. It just looks cleaner.
I think
more consistent.
Probably definitely a good explanation or good description of it. As you were talking, sort of made me think of when I draw. Like if I'm trying to draw technical things like buildings and whatnot, there's a huge lack of confidence there, and that would show. When someone really doesn't understand something, it's going to show through. So there's that time spent studying backgrounds and, you know, buildings and how you draw a bus and how you draw a tree, etc. And then there was me going, okay, well, how can I take what I'm not good at and how can I be okay at it to fit in? And it was tweaking that style. It was going, well, again, I don't need to use a ruler to draw a building. Like it doesn't matter, because as long as you know it's a building, as long as there's enough information there for people to understand the setting, that's it. I don't, you know, I shouldn't be kicking my ass all the time and taking forever to finish a comic just because I can't get the building right. Like it's stupid. I want to get the pages out. I want to work on my comic. I don't want to work on the building. And like this story has been going on for like nearly 10 years. Like the rewrites and the changes. Like there's pages, that maybe 10 pages of the original Monkey Junk that I will never show anyone because they're terrible. But when it started, it was about this junker guy who lived in a post-apocalyptic world who fought robots. That's how Monkey Junk started, and then it evolved and changed storylines and added new characters, and the characters were taken out, and it is what it is now. And when I think back, and I've got multiple friends who were there when I did it then, they just constantly kept kicking my butt. Like, when are you just going to do Monkey Junk? It was like, I want to. It's just got to be right. It's got to be perfect. And, you know, that old saying, finished but not perfect, you know. I want to finish it. I want people to enjoy the story. And hopefully they dig the art too. Like, I want the art. Obviously, I'm working hard to make the art good, but I'm working hard to make it good enough, but to make it easier for me to get them out quicker.
Yeah, dude, it's cool to hear, and I think that's also useful. But like, one thing I want to say about the finish not perfect, and you don't fall prey to this at all, neither does Scott.
Okay.
But there is a whole other wing of that I've seen online that's encouraging people to kind of just do crappy art and just kind of put it out.
I can see that. Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like, do your art, get it out. Totally agree. Like, do your art, do it well, and get it out. Finished is better than perfect, but there should be at least an attempt to get, like, which I see in your art, but I get concerned because it's getting so thrown around the internet now. I think people are taking it as license to just, like, look, I drew a stick figure on a napkin. Check it out. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. But it also has to do with your skill, because a lot of people maybe don't have the skill to, you know, like, to do the kind of work you're saying. But as long as they're doing it and putting it out there, their stuff will eventually get better. But if you're a skilled artist and you're putting things out there that are below your skill level just to get it out there, I definitely, I see what you're saying on that.
Well, the other thing is like Chris, like the iterations you're talking about that you went through, like the turnarounds, the sheets, the preparation. It's like, you know, it is good to finish it and get it out there. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, I hope that, like, whenever like people see people saying that online, they understand, like, they're talking to the perfectionists out there, like people who like sat with the story forever, or like in my own case, I had a similar thing where I would just redo the same first page for like years. Like, you know, my early 20s were spent making attempts at the first 4 pages of a comic. You know, and until finally just one day I was like, well, I'm just going to do the best I can and finish something. So finishing is good. But I learned
at a really young age when I was drawing like just a character, and I'd just keep rubbing it out and redrawing it and rubbing it out and redrawing it. And my teacher came to me and said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't like this part." And he's like, "Yeah, cool. Well, just draw the whole thing again. Don't just focus on one thing to make this whole thing right. Figure out what's wrong in here, and then make it better in the next one, or just do something completely different." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he would grab my paper and with a big bold marker just circle around it. Okay, fix this and fix this and fix this. I'm like, well, I can't fix this now, so I'm gonna have to fix it on this other picture because you've just ruined it. And he's like, yeah, well, you weren't happy with it anyway. It doesn't matter. There's no loss. Draw a new piece. Be happy with that one. And if you're not, figure out what's not, and then do it. Fix it in the next one.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost feel like maybe it should just be like, I don't know. I just worry because, like I said, I've seen both iterations. Like, people really encourage like being productive, and it's really cool. And on the other hand, I've seen people who probably like should hit the books and like study anatomy for a little bit, and then
I totally feel what you're saying there. Like, you know, I used to get really frustrated with a very similar thing. I would see the same artist doing the exact same art over and over and over and over again, even though they were creating comics. And I'm like, oh, your story's cool, but I'm like, your art hasn't changed and your art isn't good. Like, why aren't you progressing? And it took me a little time to realize, I'm like, that's where they're comfortable, and they're not in the mindset to want to learn anymore. They're in the mindset to create stories that people can read within the means that they're able to do it. And like, these people be pumping comics out every 3 or 4 weeks. I'm like, how the hell do they do it? I'm like, they do it because they've almost, I suppose, plateaued to a comfortable level, and they don't want to go anywhere else. Like, that's their choice, is that they don't want to grow and they don't want to learn. Sometimes they might down the road, but to them, it's just more about the creating. And one of these people who I know, I don't talk to him much anymore, but suffered with depression. So he just wanted to create stories. He didn't want to spend time hating himself over the art that he was not good at. He just wanted to create the stories that were coming to his mind. And for him, that was
like a therapy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because I suffer, like, I mean, my whole comic's about depression, and it functions in a similar way. It's hopefully it'll help people who are going through depressive episodes or whatever. But I would get so bored if like, you know, if I didn't like allow in the structure of the way I pace my comics. And I noticed this too, like you seem to structure your work habit similarly, where it's like I need to keep some interest in some like areas that I can grow, or like areas of excitement. Like, to me, like just the first few panels on the Monkey Junk page where you did that pan away from like the machine, the soda machine, and it's like the mechanics of it at first. It's so cool. Like, it's a unique way to kind of do a transition. And I could tell just in that, like, maybe, you know, because you've sat with the story for a while, you had other opening sequences and you threw that in because it was fun, you know, and it's like, and challenging. And so it's like, and it makes it much more interesting because I can tell when I'm looking at it, like, you're having fun, you're getting challenged by that page. That's, to me, like,
cool.
I don't know. That's the stuff I want to see marketed effectively, because I do feel like there's a lot of stuff that's marketed very effectively that really, like, why? but with this, like, you know, I think if it's marketed well, it's going to do well. And I feel that way about, like, you know, Scott, obviously, like, your work is the same. It's like you put care and love into every panel you do. So it's like, I don't know. I just feel like qualifying the whole finished not perfect thing, because I'm noticing it's just such a meme now, and I've totally seen like just today, I saw online a couple people going, "Here it is, finished, not perfect," and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, what? No, that's not finished. It's not finished." I don't know if you guys. I guess you guys have experienced that, but you're right. Maybe the motivations are different. Maybe it's serving a different purpose or something.
But the environment that I work in, 5 days a week, and you would have the same. You've got your design team, but then you've got everyone else who works in the corporates and the sales reps and everything. Like, it's so obvious how different their minds work. They just have no conception of how to be creative. They're like, "Oh, just make it more fonty." And I'm like, "What the frick do you mean more fonty? That's not a thing. Like, what font do you want to use? Like, come on."
Or can you change the font? And you're like, "This is custom. Like, this is not a font. This is custom type. Like, that's a totally different thing. I can't just hit a cursor and change the word and it just auto does it." Like, I totally have moments like that. Like, or explaining, like, a salesperson's looking over your shoulder and they're like, "Oh, that's not a filter?" And you're like, "Yeah, the filters don't do everything."
Yeah. Like, knowing that, the wider population, they don't all think like us, and some of those people are creating comics because they thought, "You know what, I'm going to try this because I've had this cool idea and I'm going to do it." And they're the same people doing it, and they're like, "Oh, it's finished, but it's not perfect." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, well, at least you're attempting it."
Yeah,
but I 100% agree with Scott. If they are of the capabilities to do it and better, then they should be doing it that way. They should know better to rush something, especially if something as personal as an amazing as a comic book.
Yeah, and like the other thing is like to me, I think a good practice for any cartoonist, like, as long as they're not like, it's that balance, right? If you're the perfectionist cartoonist who's like, when it's perfect, or like we both probably had a similar experience. Like, you've already done the 100 days, both of you guys, but like, to me, like, half of why I didn't do it was just kind of delays or reasons. Like, even one of the reasons was like, well, I'm already kind of doing it, so why do it, But like, all of that is just kind of excuses to not just do it.
Yeah. Well, you've been watching my videos pretty regularly, yeah? So you've seen Luke on the videos a couple of times.
Yeah, he needs to start.
Right? Like, I work with him every day, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm thinking of starting it." And I'm like, "Do it. Just do it." And he's like, "Oh, but I don't have the time." Like, that's the point of the challenge. Just make 30 minutes a day and do it. And he must be sick of me by now because I drill him like every day about it. Because I'm doing it every day, so I'm talking about it. And it's like, just do it. Like, and anyone I've had people come in like, "Oh, I wish I had time to do this," or like, "Oh, I'm too late to do it now. I can't do it." And I'm like, "Yes, you can. Just start."
Yeah.
Like, you don't even have to be on the Facebook group. You don't have to do any of that. Just do it for you.
Yeah.
Like, last year I went through an extreme depressive state. It destroyed me. I thought I was going to lose everything, and like, I had to get creative again. And then, like, it was a pretty rough year. And I'm not going to go into details, but since starting this year being creative and doing the 100 days and making sure I do art every day, and like changing my mindset again to being that creative person that I used to be before and being the happy person that I was before, I feel fantastic. Like, that mixed with like, I've got a much healthier diet and et cetera, exercising more, but being creative and doing these stories and actually getting them out, like, I feel fabulous, like.
Yeah. But that's the weird thing, because when you're in the making process, which, like, the goal is to always be there. But if you're in the making process, you're too busy to be depressed. You're too busy to overthink. You're too busy to like be precious. You're too busy to have all these things that delay you when you're not in the habit of it. And like, so for me, like, the last few years of my life, like, I just don't have time to be like, I know I have like depression stuff. Like, I have a proclivity towards it, but it's not even a consideration because I'm just too busy. Like, I'm just way too busy to overthink it. And But there's this beauty of like when you finish and you start just knocking out pages, and you know, comics, they're this slow process, but it's like years into it, you're like, you know, it's like now I'm heading on, you know, page 64 or something like that.
Wow.
And that'll just keep gradually, you know, in a week or two, that'll be 65. And the next thing you know, it's like, and it's not necessarily the same pace I'd like, you know, but the point is, like, I feel good. And then when I'm at work, I'm less like angry about stuff than people I notice, like, who don't have things outside of work. They get really mad because that's it for them. Like, the work is, that's all they do. And then they go home and watch TV or whatever. It's like, and I've been there, like, where that's like, you're just not having a creative outlet, and it's like, I don't know, it's
like that's what I was doing last year. I was just coming home and just watching TV and playing video games. Like, I didn't care about doing anything else. I was quite happy not to draw because I didn't feel like it. Whereas now, my 30 minutes is like going to my day job. I have to fit it in. I'm like, okay, well, at 10 o'clock I have to do it. If I don't do it, then, you know, I've quit. I've failed the challenge. So what's the point? So it forces me. Like, I'm already considering just continually doing the 100 days again, because if I don't, I won't hold myself accountable as much as if I just told myself I was going to do it.
Well, dude, if you
I'm
do
sure
it,
people are sick of me doing daily videos, but, like, you know, for me, I need it.
If you do it, I might join you, because, like, I've thought about it too. Just like literally just carrying through and just doing round two, like maybe like one day and then round two, or maybe not even a day, maybe just. But I'm so early on in the challenge. I've never even you know, finished one, so I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I think when I finished like my first challenge, I think it was like after Nevermore or something. I was like, all right, I'm just going to take a week off and relax, and then I'll do it again. And I'll get back into my comics, and I never did. That's it.
That's fascinating. So maybe we should just do an eternal 100 days of making comics challenge.
Yeah, eternal days of making comics.
Eternal days of making comics. What do you think, Scott? Are you down? You gonna join?
I'm not for daily videos, but I'll, you know, be nice to continue doing the 30 minutes every day. So.
Yeah, that's true. The daily videos would get tough.
But yeah, I mean, what I think is so cool is that you know, we kind of had to pressure Josh into doing it, even though he kind of was doing it anyway. But now that I'm just glad
I love it.
You're enjoying it and everything. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just it's just.
I love that I get to see Josh videos every day. Like, I just love watching 100 days of videos. Like, I love.
No, there's so many. I mean, I've gotta start checking out more of them. There's just so many I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
I've got to get some recommended.
Missed.
What's that?
There must be hundreds that I've missed, and I think like last year when the majority of us were doing it for the challenge, the anthology, like I only watched a certain block of people because I had a vested interest in those people, and that was like, okay, well, that's the amount of time I can actually watch videos. Yeah. So I have to just watch these guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been just blocking out, like, so I have a specific group of people that I watch that are doing the hundreds. I was stoked because, like, I always follow Jan, and he just started the challenge, so I'm.
Oh, he did? Oh, cool! I will check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there goes another 10 minutes out of my day.
But he just started like 2 days ago, and I was like, oh no, because like I was excited because I'm like I mean, he's a cool dude and he makes great videos anyway. But I was excited, and then there was also a part of me that's like, oh, now I gotta find 10 minutes a day to watch that, because there's so many. Like you were saying, there's just so many people doing the challenge. If you like were to watch them all, you have to spend like 10 hours a day, like watching YouTube videos. So I watch them while my videos are uploading.
See, I have them. I usually don't technically watch them. Most of them I listen to while I'm working, while I'm at work. I've got them playing in the background, and then if I if they're pointing out something in the video, then I'll go over and look and see what they're talking about or whatever. But mostly I'm just kind of listening to it. So, but there's a lot of times where I'm just like, oh, what video do I watch next? So I mean, so for me, it's like I need a little more. So
we need like a 100 days curator to create playlists every day for us.
Oh, that's brilliant. See, okay.
I'm not putting my hand up for that.
You know, I mean, Mike did do a good burdensome chunk of the editing. Like maybe we could get Mike Emirates to, I'm just kidding. Let's just burden him with more stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty busy on an anthology book too, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Apparently there's a rumor going around that number 2 had already begun. And Mike
Really?
had to, Mike had to put that rumor to rest pretty quickly.
Oh my gosh. See, this is the weird thing. When it, like for me, I want to jump on the hundreds chats too. And I'm like, most of the time I'm actually just too occupied doing the comic. And then like I got a kid, so it's like I can't be talking late at night every night, you know, because I don't want to wake him up, right? So, but I miss out on some of that, like the gossip, which I'm kind of curious about. But then I'm like, when I hear that, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm not missing out on much, you know? I don't know. That's funny though. A second anthology, is it already editing?
Yeah, we're so close to the Kickstarter. It's, you know.
Oh, Mike's definitely saying in the chats there is a second anthology that's in the works. I'm just messing with it. He's like, nope. Like big letters.
Yeah. Mike's a champ, though. He's done an amazing job with everything he's done. So, yeah.
It's amazing.
I don't think I can imagine the hundreds without him. So
we've got a comment. It says, I wish I had time to focus to get more pages done. It takes me weeks to do anything more than stare at a blank page. I mean, that's a problem that a lot of people have. I mean, and I know we've talked about that before, but you know, it might be something we have to touch on a little more as far as ways to kind of get started. But I mean, it's.
I imagine we're pretty close to finishing up here.
Yeah, we can't really get too much into that now. But yeah,
in that light, it's like I had that same issue with my sketchbook, and I watched Holly on one of her videos where she did it. Like all she does is draw characters from her books, and that's sort of where I adopted that. You know, all I've been drawing is monkey junk stuff now because they're easy to draw and it's easy to think about something to draw them in. So even if I can't make a comic page, that's always a good option for me. So I don't know, maybe that'll help. Alpha Proto.
Alpha Proto. I was going to say I do have a video on. I think it's called Fear of a Blank Sketchbook, and I kind of go into some tips and things on what to do as far as if you're having trouble. It's kind of sketchbook, but it could be, you know, a blank page is a blank page, whether it's a comic page or a sketchbook page or whatever. So some of that maybe can help out too. But anyway, yeah, I think we're getting close to wrap up. I know I think we touched on branding, we touched on style, and we touched on a lot of other stuff. So this is a pretty information packed episode. So hopefully everyone got something out of it. We just keep talking for hours, I'm sure, but you know, but we got to wrap it up sooner or later because this is probably getting a little longer than normal. So let's see. Let's hand it over to Josh. Josh, where can everyone find you? I forgot to do this in the beginning, didn't I?
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
This was just super entertaining, so everybody's watched all the way to this point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you can find me at just looking for Joshua Kemble on YouTube. I think my username's Polly-Nothing, which I should look into changing for branding because that was one of those usernames I used to go by with t-shirt stuff. But anyhow, so there's that, and then there's topis.io. You can check out quarterly stories there and add it to your library, which helps me get readership. And you can check out my hand-drawn, hand-inked, and hand-lettered autobio comic about faith and mental illness there. So, yeah. Chris, where can we find your stuff?
I've just recently launched my new website, www.chrismcquinlan.com. which will have all my social media links and whatnot on there. It's still sort of under construction, so it doesn't have a lot of stuff on there, but you can find most of it there. Otherwise, you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Chris McQuinlan Art for lots of video goodies.
Yeah, there was a message in the chat that I may have had a broken link or something, but I will fix that so everyone can find you by clicking the link in the description, as well as Josh and I's channels are on there. So you're on my channel, so you pretty much know where to find me. Serkworks on YouTube, pretty much Serkworks everywhere else, Instagram, Facebook. I got a Facebook fan page, Twitter, all that stuff. So that's where you can find me. And I don't know, I may end up being on Josh's 100 Days of Ming Comics. I don't know. Maybe.
I was just gonna say that. So, maybe Sunday or Monday, you guys might see Scott on my channel.
Yeah, I'm heading
California.
I'm heading out to LA, so I'm gonna hook up with Josh and do a lot of other fun stuff. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously today we're on Friday, which is a little unusual, but typically we do it like a Wednesday or a Thursday. But if you want to know exactly when we're going to be on, we do have a newsletter, and we try to send that out about 30 minutes beforehand to let everyone know when we're going to be on, because in addition to being on at different days, sometimes we're on different channels. We kind of fluctuate back and forth between Josh's channel and my channel. And then sometimes when we have technical difficulties, we break the episode into two and we're on two different channels. So it gets a little confusing, but if you don't want to be confused, just sign up for our newsletter. There's always a link in the description for that, and we will let you know when we go live. So I think that will do it for episode 119, and we'll see you again sometime next week for episode 120.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. We'll chat after this. So, all right. Take it easy, everyone.